In this video, we will be practically looking into how a load balancer actually works and actually distributes the load among various instances in a service. Let's say we have an authentication service and we have multiple copies of the server or multiple instances running for that service. To distribute the load among these instances that we have, we need a load balancer, right? So in this video, we will be implementing a custom load balancer and a very basic one to just see how this load balancing basically works. If we go to our project structure, we can see that we have various files like the algorithms file, config file, servers, and services. Starting with the configuration file, we can see that we have configured three instances for our main server right here. And all of these instances are defined in separate URLs. So all of them will be running independently. So we can consider that these are three separate instances or three independent processes. And our basic task in this video will be to allocate or distribute the load coming into our main server among these three instances that we have. So we have the server 1, server 2, and server 3. We have just named these servers, but these are not independent servers. These are just instances or processes. Now we can go to the services file and we can see we have a health check function, which basically checks if the server is up and running or if it is dead. Then we have the servers. So we have three servers right here, like server 1, as we saw right here, we have three instances. So instance 1, 2, and 3, I have just named them servers to represent that these are servers. And the code is basically that we are defining an express app and using that app to expose some endpoints like the get endpoint, basic get endpoint and post endpoint. And then we're making it listen onto the port that we have defined. And for each of them, as you can see, we have separate ports. So these will be running as three separate processes and we need to run them all together. And then we have the main index.js file. And this is the main file. So all the requests will be hit into the index.js, and this will be responsible for allocating various instances to the requests that are incoming. So this file basically works as the load balancer, and this will be allocating load to various services or instances that we have. So as you can see, we are like using this, and before checking this, let's go to the algorithms. So we have various algorithms, like we can have round robin, weighted round robin, least connections. But in this video, we will be just looking into the round robin algorithm, which is a very simple one. If I open this file, you can see that first of all, we have imported the server configuration, and then we have defined a variable. Now what happens is when we call this function, first of all, we select the number of healthy servers that we have from the list of total servers. And if no healthy servers are available, we just return null because we cannot run it anyway. Then we have returned the server in which we will be running in which we will be directing the request. So we start from current equal to 0, right? So the first server which will be allocated is healthy servers bracket 0. And if we go to our configuration file, we can see that the zeroth instance is this one right here with ID 1. But this is just the ID, but for like zero based index, this is the first one that we have. So this first server will be allocated in case of current equal to 0 or for the first request. Now what happens is after this gets allocated, then before returning, we update the current value. So 0 plus 1 for first one, we have 0 plus 1 modulo healthy servers dot length. But here basically we have three servers, so healthy servers dot length is 3. So 0 plus 1 modulo 3, which is 1 modulo 3, which will give us 1. So before returning, we update the current value to 1. Before it was 0, now it got updated to 1. So what happens is whenever this function is again called for next allocation, now what happens is the server which gets allocated is healthy server bracket 1. Now we go to our server file and check that this is the first or the like this is the next one in line. So from 0 we went to 1. So this is the instance which now gets allocated. Again, before returning, we update the current value, and now the current value becomes 2 because 1 plus 1 modulo 3 is 2. So the next time the server which gets allocated is healthy servers bracket 2, which is this one right here. So as we could see, we allocated first this server, then we allocated this server, and then we allocated this server or instance, we can say. So basically, we allocated these instances in line or in a particular round robin fashion, as we say. So for the first request, this got allocated, then this, and again for the consequent requests or subsequent requests, it will repeat this pattern. So 1, 2, 3, again, then 1, again 2, and 3. This is the basic round robin algorithm. And if we change it back to what it was, this is the basic simple algorithm for round robin allocation of load. Now, if we go to our index file, we can see that we are importing this function or we are calling this function right here. So whenever we call this for the first time, as we could see, the first instance gets allocated or the zeroth instance gets allocated, and then our load basically gets allocated to this URL right here, or this server with this URL. Then like it allocates to the second one, then to the third one, and this repeats so on in a cyclic manner. And this is the basic code for it. So we are exposing a get endpoint here as well so that we can hit our index.js file. And this index.js, as you can see, is running on port 3000. Now to Now to actually test out our load balancer, we need to open all of our instances and the index.js file in separate terminals, and we need to run all of them. So we are running the load balancer or the main index.js file in this terminal with on the port 3000, and we are also running all our separate instances on different ports and different terminals. So all of our servers like server 1, server 2, and server 3, or like instances, all of our instances are basically running on three independent terminals and ports, and our main load balancer is running on port 3000. So to test it out, let us go to Postman. And since right here we have this get block, or we are exposing an app.get, so when we hit the get endpoint, we will be basically executing this block of code right here. So let us hit a get endpoint. And the address for it will be localhost 3000, since our load balancer is basically on port 3000. So if I hit this get endpoint, then I can see that I got a message, hello from server 1. And we can see that basically server 1 is running, or the request got allocated to server 1. So we can say, or we can see that the first request got allocated to server 1. And if we go to our file, we can confirm it that when we hit this endpoint first, this block of code got executed, right? Then we went to this function of round robin algorithm. And inside it, what happened is current was set to 0. So for current equal to 0, healthy servers bracket 0 got allocated. And what was healthy server bracket 0? If we go to our configuration file, we can see that this was that particular server. And which is that server? It is basically server 1. And if we come here, we can see that our load got allocated to server 1. So our algorithm is working fine, but let's test it for subsequent requests as well. Now our second request got allocated to server 2, as we can see right here. Why so? Because the next time when we hit it, current value got updated and the next current value was 1. So the next server in line was this particular server, or server 2. So we can see that we got the request got served in server 2. Now if we hit it again, if I hit it again, we are again starting from the start, because right now I set the current to 0 again. So this is the first request. And then this is the second request. Then this is the third request right here. So we can see that the first request, right here, it is giving us a table as well, because I defined a table as well here to map out the output that we are getting. Inside this, we can see that we are mapping the total number of requests so as to see which number request is getting allocated to which instance. So if we come into our table right here, we can see that for servers, we have three different instances here, and each server got hit with one request each. So we could see from our Postman as well, we hit the get endpoint three times. And for each of them, all of these servers basically got allocated with the load for one time each. Now, if we hit our endpoint again, we can see again that we came back to server 1. So this is how the round robin algorithm is basically working. We can confirm because we were currently in server 3. Now that we hit the endpoint again, then for the next time we went back to server 1 again. And ideally now we should again come back to server 2, then again server 3, then again back to server 1. So let's confirm that behavior as well. So now as you can see, again I have got the request in server 2. Now again the request got allocated to server 3, and if I hit it again, the request will be allocated to server 1 again. So it is basically acting as a round robin. And if we see our table, we can see after hitting like 7 requests in total, we can see request number 7 allocated to server 1. So if we see it from the start, we can track all the requests. Like request number 1 got allocated to server 1. Request number 2 got allocated. Again, since we reset the current value, so this was happening. If we come here, we can see request number 1 got allocated to server 1. Request number 2 got allocated to server 2. Request 3 got allocated to server 3, and so on. Like again, for request 4, we went back to server 1. For request 5, again server 2. Request 6, server 3, and again for request number 7, we went back to server 1. So for 7 requests, we can see for server 1 got 3 hits, server 2 got 2 hits, and server 3 got 2 requests. So this is basically how the round robin algorithm is functioning or working. And this is the practical implementation of load balancing using basic round robin algorithm.